the newsroom staff, and if we have no others, then we'll go to wrapping it up here. The general plan. It's a big document. It's hard to read. The debate goes on often for years. We've just passed a new one. Why should people care? What does that plan mean to everyday residents? And I think this does go to what you were just saying, the need for citizen input. Why should somebody give input on a general plan? And we'll start with Joanne.
Thank you for letting me go first on this question. The general plan is probably the second most important document that the city of Lodi has. Of course, our budget and our finances are the second, but this would rate right up there. Why? Because it's what Lodi is going to look like 25 years from now. It is the blueprint for what our community will be. It determines the growth rate, how neighborhoods are developed, what buffers we have between Stockton and Lodi. It defines even how our parks are designed and the number of parks we have. I'm grateful to say that when we went through the process of our general plan, we did, I think, a stellar job of outreach into the community so that we got across the board input on what that vision would look like. Now, granted, is it a blueprint with subject to change? Sure. But it helps guide the city and all its policies and all its development for the next 20, 25 years. So it's a very important document that should be reflective of our community and the citizens who live here.
Doug?
Well, I agree. The general plan is a very important document. I would just say this in conjunction with what Joanne said, and I agree with her. If you don't have a vision for what the community should look like in the future, and that's hard to do. People want Lodi to stay small, but I really think that people want a small town feel. Change is inevitable, somebody once said, and how we handle change is important. What that change looks like is just as important. We want to keep that feel, we want to keep that tone, that texture to Lodi. We don't want it to be sprawling out of control. Connectivity between subdivisions is an important feature. I fought real hard on the Planning Commission when we were looking at the general plan to make sure that we had what at that time would have been a perimeter bike path and running path along the Reynolds Ranch and Blue Shield property, and again with the FCD property. Why is that important? It's important to do connectivity between subdivisions. The Lodi is a fairly well connected community. And if you don't build that into your general plan, you miss some of the important features that make Lodi so unique and so user-friendly, if you will. So the general plan is important. How do you get more citizens involved in it? We did our best to invite the community to look at it, to review white papers, to look at the plans that we had. And we had a good amount of people turn out. Could there have been more? Yeah, I would have liked to have seen more. But I think what we have is a workable document, and I think it's a pretty good document at this point.
I'm not going to agree with anything that Doug or Joanne have said. It's a blueprint, it's a plan, it's the roadmap for what happens in the community for the next 20 years. It can be changed as time goes on. What I will disagree with, to a certain extent, was the level of citizen participation. Joanne said that we did a good job of outreach. I think we did a very good job of outreach. I think we had a lousy job of input. We've got 60-some-odd thousand people in this town. We've got about 27 or 28,000 voters, and some of those sessions we had at Hutchins Street Square, you might have had 75 people. So it's difficult as a seated council member to say, in response to a citizen, what are you damn fools doing? Excuse me? What do you want us to do? Why weren't you at the general plan meeting? And they have no answer, but they're quick to snipe at us. So I think what's described as the plan is a very, very important document. It's flexible. It's not meant to lock everything in concrete, but I do use it as an illustration, once again, of not having the participation and the input that I think we need in order to help us make intelligent decisions.
May I?
Yes, certainly.
My last one.
That's your number 3.
Thank you.
We're counting, Julie.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate Bob's sentiments in regards to the outreach that we did, which I thought did a stellar job. And as he said, we didn't get the turnout that we were hoping for. But as a council member, if you can get 75 people to show up for something, you've done a really great job, because people are busy working, raising their families, and putting food on the table. And they vote for council members who express their vision of the city in hopes that we will move their vision forward. So in a lot of cases, I think the citizens put a great deal of trust in us to do what they ask us to when they go to the ballot box. But on the other hand, we have to look at balance when it comes to our growth rate. And I don't think anybody really addressed that tonight, so I really wanted to. Lodi is positioned to be in a very unique situation, unlike many of the other communities in the Central Valley, and that is we have a great wine industry and agricultural industry. And so we're setting ourselves up to have tourism, which will help our coffers, because people will come here, they will visit, they will spend their money, and then they will leave, leaving the rest of Lodi small, balanced, and still be able to afford the amenities in Lodi that we all appreciate and love about Lodi.
Audience, volunteers. What can we do to better utilize volunteers to make Lodi a better place? And it's Bob's turn to begin.
I think that Lodi, in the 33 years that I've been here, I think Lodi has been blessed with its level of volunteerism. When Carolyn and I moved to town, our kids were about 8 years of age or something like that, and I signed up as a soccer coach, and that was my first experience with the Bobs, who for 50 years now have been trying to keep kids busy and try to keep kids out of trouble. The police partners do a marvelous job. Talking about code enforcement, they're sort of an arm of code enforcement. They're looking at abandoned vehicles, illegally parked vehicles, etc. They do a fantastic job. Look at the boards and commissions that we have, the Recreation Commission, the Planning Commission, the Senior Citizens Commission. We've got a ton of them. We've got a ton of them. The way to improve that volunteerism is to get more people involved. I'm not saying we need to go from 7 planning commissioners to 9, but how about if we got more people involved in the senior commission to help maintain and benefit a greater and growing population within our community? It's fun. It's fun. I've done it for 33 years. It's a great gratifier if you can help somebody help themselves. So I think volunteerism is well entrenched in the city of Lodi. I just think we need to find more people to get involved.
Very good. Joanne, I believe you're next.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a great question. Volunteerism is something that I hold dear to my heart. I started my conversation earlier today with that my grandma helped many people in Lodi. She inspired me, she really did. And as a result, I have spent over 20 years in volunteerism as well. I know my mom, there's not a single day goes by that she's not helping out at the Moose Lodge or doing something in Lodi. And I think Lodi has a reputation of a community that gives back. We see that through Rotary clubs and Kiwanis clubs and just a variety of our boards and commissions, as Bob had mentioned. However, I think we can go one step further. And in fact, the city of Sacramento has done just that. And I recently asked Brad Bartlam to research what the city of Sacramento is doing in regards to volunteerism and how can that work in the city of Lodi. And I mean through the Parks and Recreation Committee, through City Hall. We're so understaffed at the finance department. How can volunteers be used throughout the organization to create additional services for the community and help out where we don't have enough staff to do that? So we should be coming back with some kind of action plan in the very near future to expand our volunteer opportunities within the city of Lodi, and I would be anxious to see that happen.
Doug, how can we use volunteers to improve city services?
First of all, I'd like to concur with both Bob and Joanne again. I've lived in a variety of different cities and places growing up, and the volunteer base in Lodi is by far superior to any other place I've ever lived. So, first of all, I'd like to say that Lodi is doing a great job as far as volunteers go. I'm going to take this on a little bit of a personal trail, though. I think it starts at home. I volunteer. I model that for my kids. My kids see me volunteering in a variety of different organizations and a variety of different venues, not only at my church, but civic and local opportunities. And so modeling it for our kids has to be number one. Now, how do you legislate that, or how do you get people to do that? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I just know it's happening in my house. So the volunteer base, we have over 100 partners that volunteer for the city of Lodi. I'm just impressed with this number, and Bob had already mentioned this, that they're doing a huge share of the work for the police department. So how do we attract more volunteers? I don't know that I have the answer to that. I just know what works in my house. I model it for my kids, they see it. I model it for my friends, they see it. I invite my friends along to do stuff with me. They get the same feeling. I think Bob or Joanne might have mentioned this. It gives you a sense of satisfaction. And when you help people, and I know this from working with people with depression, when you help somebody else, they feel better about themselves. And so it's a great psychological boost as well. So how do we get more volunteers? Again, I don't have the answer to that. I just know that I need to model it for my friends and family. And I think I'm sitting with two people who are doing the exact same thing.
All right, thank you very much. Diane Serpa, one of our readers. One audience member says, look, we've got a gang violence problem. Could we use a substation in the high violence areas, a police substation? Another person concerned about youth, skate park and things. The LUSD Board of Trustees has students sitting on the LUSD board in an advisory role. Is there an advisory role for youth in the city of Lodi? So let's see. It's Joanne's turn to be
Excellent.
blindsided.
Well, to answer the first question, yes, we do have a youth commission. I actually am the council advisory to that youth commission. We have done a great job in trying to identify and outreach to the young people of Lodi through a variety of different events and making sure that we have safe and clean activities. They also outreach to what I believe are some of the distinct problems that young people have in Lodi. We involve them in the planning process just recently, and we look to them whenever there is a problem regarding our youth that the City Council can't necessarily connect with, because most of our kids are grown and we're looking through the eyes of our grandkids, I think now. Me accepted, I have no children. But, you know, the Youth Commission is a great venue for that kind of input from everyone. The other issue is the substation. I think that's something that's been rattling around at City Hall for a very, very long time. Problem has always been the money for infrastructure to build the substation. But you know, we might have a rare opportunity to have some kind of substation or connectivity with our new fire station. And that certainly is something that we can keep in mind as we move forward building that facility.
Doug, two brand new ideas. Kids advising the council and a substation in a high violence area of town.
Well, I don't know that the Youth Commission has been totally utilized to their fullest when it comes to advising the City Council. I'm good friends with Brad Vanderham, who ran that Youth Commission for years, and good friends with Summer Panino, who was on that as well. I've had an opportunity to chaperone dances in the past for the Youth Commission. My kids, seeing that I have 5 teenage kids, have been a part of that, participating with the Youth Commission. They've done some great things. At Lodi Lake, they have an event. So the Youth Commission is involved. I don't know how much they have the ear of the City Council. Perhaps it would be a good opportunity for us to seize that opportunity with the youth of Lodi. As far as the, you mentioned something about the skate park. I have a friend of mine who called me twice in the last 2 weeks and saying, hey, the skate park's closed, what can you do about it? Well, I can't do anything about it personally. And I think that it's a travesty that we built this thing with city funds and it's not being utilized to the fullest. So for me, I think that maybe we could work something out with the partners to facilitate the opening of that skate park and keep it running, especially when the kids are on break. Like I said, I've gotten calls from a couple different people recently about that. So for me, that's sad that we have this facility and we're not utilizing it to its fullest. When it comes to the police presence on the east side, I think that's a wonderful idea. How the logistics and how we'll work it out, I don't know, but I think it's a great idea. Not so long ago, we had a couple of bicycle cops downtown Lodi. We're down to one now. I kind of miss that presence. It's a soft presence of our police, but yet we know that they're there. So for me, having the presence on the east side is a great idea. The logistics of working out might be the difficulty there, though.
Thank you, Doug. Bob?
I'll start off with the substation. I'm not in favor of a substation on the east side. We're not Chicago, we're not New York, we're not Los Angeles. Our problem is getting police out into the community. And Lodi is only 12 miles square, folks. We're still not that big. So, you know, to start creating a network of substations or precincts, as I used to call them back in New York City, I don't think is all that beneficial. Somebody might say we've got enough police officers sitting in the police station right down the street now. More of them should be out on the street, and that's an idea that I advocate. I agree with Doug. I think that I don't think that we have. If the idea of promulgating teen input to the city council has merit, I don't think in the 8 years that I've seen in the council that I've seen it happen. I'm not adverse to it, but I would think that if this is something that can be challenging to the youth commission or the youth of our community, let's get the ball rolling. It may go nowhere. It may go absolutely nowhere. But the youth commission does their stuff, and they do a good job of their stuff. But I haven't heard or seen of any ideas coming uphill to us saying you ought to do this or you ought to do that. I may have missed something, but it's certainly not something that's been bubbling over on our lap. The skate park, pardon my French, it's a group of peckerheads who are ruining it for everybody else. It's a small minority of people who are not doing what we would expect kids to do. There was an interesting meeting at the Park and Recreation Commission the other night. Doug mentioned the partners. I'm not too sure that they're going to be the people who do that, but there was a conversation with the 180 Teen Center about maybe they would mentor at the park, and that would put a little bit of a cap on the debris and the trash, and also maybe put some sort of a cap on the drug and negative activity that's happening there. We've spent a lot of money on that park. I personally would not like to see it go to waste. I think that we've got to find a way to get the goofballs under control and get them out of there so that the normal kids, the good kids, can go over there, skate to their heart's content and not have to deal with some negative problems.
Very good.
Can I buy a rebuttal card?
And kind of sum up your feelings about this election, your feelings about the future of the city of Lodi. Don't be afraid to compare us to our bankrupt brothers and sisters to the south. Where are we headed? And I believe it's Doug's turn to start first.
Well, bureaucracy and political maneuvering is what ended up getting stocked in the pinch it was in, some short-sightedness. Fortunately, we have some long vision in our leaders currently, and I'd like to bring that to the table. One of the great things about Lodi is, again, that it's a unique community. It's a jewel in the valley. It's a wine tasting destination, grape growing region. It's very unique to our counterparts. We need to continue to build on that. We need to allow Lodi to prosper by making it a business-friendly environment for more business to come into town. One of the things that I've been talking about, and I've said numerous times before, and I'll probably say it again, continue to grow downtown Lodi, especially the west side of Sacramento Street. You go 1/2 block off School Street over to Sacramento Street, and you can feel the change, literally. And so we need to continue to grow our community, make it as business friendly as possible, not make it punitive for business to come into town. We need to be able to continue to provide good police support so that they can allow our city to continue to be safe. No business wants to come into a town that's not safe. Stockton's facing that problem. No citizen wants to live in a town that's not safe. So how do we continue to grow Lodi? By making it a business-friendly environment, by making it a wine destination, tourism spot, by continuing to make it friendly for not only our citizens, but for people to visit and that they can feel safe. Hey, look, one of the greatest parts about Lodi is that we can go to any park anytime, day and night, and not feel like you're going to get robbed, your gold necklace get ripped off your neck, like our neighboring city. So we want to continue to make sure Lodi is a safe place to live. When it comes to the general plan and growth, we want to be smart about that growth. Bob mentioned this, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. It's a living document, our general plan is. We want to make sure that the changes that need to be made as we continue to grow happen according to what the citizens want and not what a builder wants. So keeping Lodi safe, allowing it to be a place, personally, this is my personal issue, a place for my kids to come back and raise their kids. That's what I'm hoping for Lodi, and we can do that together if we continue to build on that volunteer spirit. We had mentioned that earlier. It takes all of us. It doesn't just take the elected officials to do this. It takes all of us to keep our community safe. So I'm proud of the fact that Neighborhood Watch is so prevalent in Lodi. There's some great things happening in Lodi. And we want to continue to move forward with that, keeping it a safe, family-friendly, business friendly environment.
All right, Bob, you're next.
I'm not going to need 5 minutes. I'm looking out at the audience, and I know that there are people here who are supporters of mine. I know there are people here who are not necessarily on my fan base. That's the way it goes. But I would say to all the people here that in my 33 years in this community, I have devoted a ton of time to a lot of different efforts and energies on behalf of the citizens. And I will continue to do that. I would like to be reelected to the City Council. As I said earlier on in my opening comments, I'm proud of what we have accomplished as a council. I think we've got some difficult issues still ahead of us, and I want to be part of the process that will help resolve those. But my bottom line is that I love Lodi, and I will do everything I possibly can to foster this community, and any decision I make as a council member, I trust you will believe is for the betterment of our community. Thank you for coming.
Marty, I'd like to just briefly address your comment about the city to the north of us, or the south of us, excuse me. Interesting, he should bring that up, because I have the privilege and the honor of serving as a board member with the League of California Cities. I had served as a board member representing the Central Valley for 3 years, and I was just re-elected as an at-large, and I had to compete with 482 cities, and out of 14 seats, I actually received one of them. So I was honored to be able to do that. I see and I talk to many different council members throughout the state of California, and I will say Lodi is in pretty good shape. I am grateful to work with Kathy Miller, who's the vice mayor of the city of Stockton. And you know, they've got problems, and those problems didn't happen overnight. They were done through decision making of their leaders over a 20-year span that led them to their bankruptcy. And you can't blame the current people there, because they're trying to dig their way out of those decisions that were made. But it's difficult. I think Lodi is in a much better situation. We've had very conservative-minded leaders over the last 20 years. We've made sure to live within our means. We are a slow-growth community that is balanced and diverse compared to many of our Central Valley communities. So I think that that is where we are very different from the city to the south, and that we definitely rise above the problems that they're experiencing. Does it mean that we can just close our eyes on it? Absolutely not. We need to make sure to pay attention to the pulse of the state and the economy to make sure that we are doing everything in our power as community leaders to protect its citizens and its assets that we have here. So on my closing statement, I would just like to say, you know, my grandmother taught me the importance of community involvement. As a result, I have participated in the city of Lodi on many levels for the last 20 years. I'm honored and delighted to have done so. I've worked with many groups like the Eastside Improvement Committee, Junior Achievement, Neighborhood Watch. I'm a Youth Commission advisor, as well as being your council member. And there's nothing more that I love than Lodi and my family. So I'm just delighted to be able to serve in this capacity. I bring 30 years worth of financial and budget experience to the table. So I'm able to look at documents that come before us and make intelligent decisions on our finances. And I'm able to identify discrepancies and problems in those documents. I have the ability to compromise and work well with others despite difficult situations, and I can still walk away with a smile at the end of the day. As your council member, I've helped bring your ideas and your concerns to the attention of staff to bring that into policy and procedure. I'll continue to fight for the betterment of Lodi and the interest of you, the citizens of Lodi, because you are the owners of this community, and I work for you, and I'm responsible to you. And on November 6th, I ask you for your vote so I can continue to fight for you and for your interests and for the growth and betterment of our community. And all I can say in closing is every vote counts, vote mounts.